But the crucial question that the world wants to know is, having arisen or having fully developed, what kind of a China, what kind of power is it going to be? Can it have a peaceful rise? Quite possible. For 20, 30, 40 years? Will it be peaceful after it has risen?
大家好，我是老吴。今天想和大家分享一段非常珍贵的影像资料。这是新加坡建国总理李光耀先生在2009年的一场活动中谈到中国崛起与未来的演讲和回答。李光耀先生被誉为新加坡国父，是一位极具远见与国际影响力的政治家。他深刻理解东西方文化，治国理念务实，并且和中国几代领导人都有过深入交往。可以说他对中国的观察既宏观又细致。在这段内容里，李光耀先生回顾了自己几十年来访问中国的经历，谈到中国的巨大变化与发展成就，但他也毫不避讳地指出了中国当时面临的内部挑战，比如腐败、不平等，以及年轻一代民族主义情绪的隐忧。更重要的是，他预测了中国未来的发展轨迹，并从资深政治家的角度提出了几个深具启发性的建议，特别是如何实现和平崛起，以及如何处理好与世界的关系。那么李光耀先生当年对中国这些预测和忠告，如今有哪些应验，又有哪些值得我们深思？尤其是对现任领导人习近平主席来说，他是否听进了这位新加坡智者的话？这些问题，相信大家看完今天的内容后会有自己的看法。好，我们一起来聆听一下李光耀先生的智慧之言。
My name is Wang Yan, and currently an MPA student. I come from China, and to be specific, Jiangsu province, a place shares a lot with and owns a lot to you and to your country. My question is about real China versus imagined China. Because I doubt that there's an easy way for China to explain to the rest of the world what is really going on in this country, while itself is going through unprecedented transitions. Among all living leaders around the world, I think you are the only one that has been to China 30 times, I think, and that can speak excellent Chinese. So what does a real China look like in your eyes? And what are the major reasons that you believe how China sees itself and how the rest of the world, especially the West, sees China, are persistently out of alignment? Do you believe in a peaceful rise of China? And if you do, would you please kindly advise how China should act to effectively convince others that the rise of China is not a threat to the world? Thank you very much.
You get very difficult questions, Emil.
Yeah. I'll have to do a very carefully crafted thesis to answer you, which I'm not qualified to do. You live there, you've grown up there, you've been educated there. How can I know China better than you do? But just seeing China on 32 different visits over the last since 1976, that's about 33 years, I would say it's been a remarkable transformation. The China I visited in 1976 was dilapidated, down, grey, drab, everybody in the same mouth jackets, unlit streets. I was put up in the best hotel in Shanghai. I went down at night after dinner to see what it's like, and dark streets, unlighted shops, and whole streams of people. So you've got to keep on moving, otherwise you're holding everybody up. Overcrowded. Now you go to Shanghai, unbelievably, it's widened the roads, they've greened up the place, huge tremendous improvements in their infrastructure. So that's coastal China. And you can find that in Guangzhou, Dalian, Tianjin, all the coastal cities. I've also been to the interior. I've been to Lanzhou and to see the caves in Dunhuang. And it was an arid place. It's got oil, and the oil has got to be shared with 1.3 billion people. So if Lanzhou was just looking after itself with its 40 million, it might be quite a wealthy little oil state. But it's not as. So what is the real China? I think there are multiple real Chinas, depending even within a province. But given the diversity of the country, the progress is made is quite outstanding. Can it have a peaceful rise? Quite possible. For 20, 30, 40 years. Will it be peaceful after it has risen? I cannot say. Because, every year since 1976, the relationship of China between Singapore and China, yes, it's good, it's friendly, but in 76, they were asking me questions about the free market, about many things. Now we are talking at a different level. I'm talking to people who read enormously and been briefed. So we are talking at a different level, and the relationship is at a more realistic level. You can't ask me with 4 million people to give advice to 1.3 billion people. I don't think it's wise anyway of me, and I'll cease to be friends if I do that. But I'll say what I think is good about China and a few things about what will hold it up. One, they've got the system going. When they say we will do this, it's done. The difference between India and China is stark. In India, Delhi can say, do that. But the chief minister says, you're not appointing me, I follow you. It's my voters who will make me the chief minister in the next election. So I say, yes, of course, but I don't do it. But in China, when you tell the party secretary, this must be done, and you don't do it, in the next reshuffle, you'll move sideways. So if you want to get up to the Politburo, you make sure it's a success. So you take Suzhou, all the I think there are 6 or 7 officials that we dealt with, and they were very able ones. They are now right at the top. 2 party secretaries, 1 member of the Politburo in charge of discipline and so on, a very important post. Because that's the way it is. The system works because if you perform, I promote you. You don't perform, you're out. Sideways. So that's a systemic difference. The other thing that impresses me is the quality of the men that's coming up. 76, I met revolutionaries. Everywhere you went in the provinces, coming Wei and Hui. So the Revolutionary Committee greets you, and their sum total of knowledge is Marxism, Communism, Leninism, and Maoism. And now you're meeting a different generation. The younger you go, the more Western educated they are, the more they're familiar with the world, and the higher the quality, and I think they got the system in order. You have to retire at that age. 65 in the center, in the provinces, mayors retire at 60. party secretary 65, even in the center you're very good and you go on to 70. Now what is the bad side? Well, the bad side is, first, a dysfunctional system because of the corruption, a lot of unhappiness at lower levels. How to be rid of it? It's a very difficult job because all communist countries face this problem. During the time when the economy was controlled, money is useless. You can have a lot of paper money, but you can't go, there's nothing in the shops. You go to the shops that your pecking order decides. I'm cadre first class and I go hospital first class, shops first class, I buy all these things. You are cadre 9th class and you go to a different kind of class. You are not even a cadre. Well, that's too bad. On one of my tours, this is where there's a bit of hypocrisy. One of the people who accompanied us was wearing this mouse suit. So I said, well, you see, I show you. He unbuttoned himself and said, fur line inside. If you're an ordinary fellow, you don't have a fur line mouth. You just shiver, you put on more layers of cotton. But they maintain this egalitarian look. Now the problem now is with that egalitarian look, the poor are being squeezed at lower levels, and they see little officials getting prosperous and leading a good life, and they are not in their land. They don't own the land, but nevertheless, having tilled the land, and they expect adequate compensation, and they don't get it, so you get riots. So I think there are serious problems of equity there, and with CCTV now, you can see how beautiful Beijing is, how beautiful Shanghai is, and I'm still in my mud house, or my mud hut. When is my turn? Nobody knows. I mean, maybe 50 years, 60 years, because the trickle-down effect will take a very long time. So the present leadership is putting all the infrastructure in the less developed areas, but can you convert it quickly? I don't think so. Educational levels are lower, cultural levels are lower, you've got to educate them. Teachers don't want to go to such provinces, good teachers, because where are the facilities for your children's education and hospitals and so on? So it'll be a problem getting them up to speed. So corruption, inequality, and misbehavior, especially at lower levels, will lead to all kinds of problems, which can be contained because they've got a very powerful apparatus. People's security police, the army, the party. But if you want a country to progress, you must carry the people with you at all levels, which they did when they shared misery. But now the prosperity is not shared equally. I mean, you are here, you're from Jiangsu, it's one of the prosperous provinces. You're well dressed, you're well educated, you speak English. If you were in Lanzhou or Xinjiang, I don't think you'll have a chance to travel and be in Singapore. So these disparities will be serious problems. So the internal problem is the most important single difficulty you must attend to. Peaceful rise, it is in China's interest to grow in a peaceful environment. If you are engaged in wars or conflicts, you won't grow. I mean, you see Vietnam. From 1945 to 1991, they were engaged in a series of wars. Nearly broke them. Now they are recovering. It took a long time. And the Chinese know this. This generation has been through hell. Great leap forward, hunger, starvation, near collision with the Russians over the Amur River, cultural revolution, gone mad. So they said, okay, we've got a chance now to join the other countries at the top. Let's not disturb this opportunity. So hence this concept of peaceful rise. I met the party school vice principal. He asked me to speak to the students once. So I said, you know, if I were you, I would not use the word peaceful rise in English. It sounds all right in Chinese, 崛起, but in English it means you're rising as like a mushroom, you know, you scare people. Why not say cultural renaissance, that you're going back to Tang Dynasty or Sung Dynasty or Han Dynasty, a restoration of your cultural efflorescence. That will make people concentrate on the cultural side. So they now settle for peaceful development. I say they've moved away from peaceful rise. I have no doubts that they will have they want a peaceful rise. This generation. But the grandchildren may think that they have already arrived, and then they begin to flex their muscles, and then you will have a very different China. So I put this question to them. They said, no, it won't happen. We'll tell them. Teach them all the lessons. You know, the grandchildren never listen to grandfathers. So that's one problem. The other problem is a more crucial one. If you start off in the belief that the world has been unkind to you, that the world has exploited you, that the imperialists have devastated you, you know, looted Beijing, done all this to you. One day you get at the top table, you'll square accounts. Well, that's no good. I think you must get a generation to grow up and say, look, you're not going back to old China when you were just the only power in the world, as far as you know. Rome was far away. And the Silk Road, well, you can't invade each other. But you are now going to grow, let's say in 50 years, with an economy, total GDP more than America, easily more than Japan, but per capita still low. But you are just one of many other powers, many of them more innovative, more inventive, more resilient in meeting with changes in technology and changes in social lives and so on. So I tell my American friends, if I were you, I wouldn't worry about them today, you know, democracy and so on. Leave it to them. You've got tens of thousands of bright Chinese students in America. You give them a bad impression, a bad time, they'll go home nursing a grievance. You accept them as friends and say, look, this is one world, global warming. We will be in trouble, you will be in trouble. AIDS, terrorism, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons. It's a different world. China will not be the sole power. But sometimes, I'm not talking about people at the top, I think they understand this. But the people at the bottom, middle ranges, I mean, when the Deputy Prime Minister, our Deputy Prime Minister, who's now Prime Minister, went to Taiwan, the barrage of vicious articles on him on the internet from young students was intense. Suddenly, from a good old friend, we became a brand new enemy. Overnight. No, that gives us cause for reflection. So I said to some of my Chinese friends, I said, that's, you better tell your young people, if you say we are old friends, then we have to stay old friends for a long time. You can't say, suddenly I do something which you don't like and we become an enemy. I'm not sure if they can get the young people to understand that, because they are growing up in a different China. A China which they feel is going to come up very quickly,崛起. I'm not sure it's going to come up without troubles. I think enormous social problems will crop up, disparity, corruption, all kinds of problems. But the crucial question that the world wants to know is, having arisen or having fully developed, what kind of a China, what kind of power is it going to be? Because by then you'll be 1,500 million or 600 million, educated, organized. It can become. Now they keep on saying, 不称霸, we're not going to be a hegemon. Never. No, I believe it for their lifetime. But as I think of the young attacking us, I think overnight I became an enemy. How is that? So I explained it to my friends. I said, no, when you do that, you annoy 1.3 billion people. 13亿. That caused me to pause again. So when you annoy me, you only annoyed 4 million people. But I thought you said all countries big and small are the same. So I begin to have doubts about that. But never mind, I think it is still in the formative stage. And if I were America, Europe, and Japan, I would spend time to make sure that the mindset of the younger generation is not one of hostility, but one of acceptance and an understanding that you are now a stakeholder, which was Bob Zweig's very apt description of their role. When they were called a stakeholder, they asked me, what is a stakeholder? I said, it means you got a stake in it, and if it goes down, you will lose money. So after some time, they said, yeah, that's right. So stakeholders are a good idea. So make them feel they're stakeholders, and if this earth goes warm, they're in as much trouble as anybody else.
好，李光耀先生这段充满智慧与眼界的分享，我们就看到这里。听完他10几年前对中国的分析、预测与建议，再对照今天的现实，确实有了很多值得回味的地方。他一方面看到了中国巨大的发展潜力，一方面也敏锐地指出了内部矛盾和外部挑战。他对中国制度执行力的肯定，对官员素质的观察，还有对腐败与不公的担忧，都展现了他对中国国情的深刻洞察。而他提出的建议，比如中国如何融入世界，如何处理大国心态，尤其是避免重蹈历史上崛起大国的覆辙，在今天看来依然非常有意义。至于我们开头提到的问题，习近平主席是否听进了李光耀先生的这些忠告，我很好奇大家怎么看。好，今天的分享就到这里，感谢大家收看，我们下次见。